First day to field in Port St. Lucie. It's the New York Mets against the Detroit Tigers. Spring training on SNY is presented by Citi. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. By Empire City Casino, current jackpot is now worth $2.8 million. You could be the biggest winner yet. By Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. And by Jeep, the most awarded lineup of SUVs ever. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. On Florida's Atlantic coast, another beautiful day for spring training baseball as the Mets get ready here at first day to field in Port St. Lucie. The Detroit Tigers in town, fans young and old enjoying the scene here in Florida. With Ron Darling and Todd Zeal, I'm Wayne Randazzo in for Gary Cohen today, and we'll see Matt Harvey on the mound this afternoon. Ronnie, what does Matt Harvey need to expound on from his last start? You know, hands down, I think the most compelling story of spring training to me is Matt Harvey. You know what you're going to get, I think, from Noah Syndergaard. You know what you're going to get, of course, from Jacob deGrom. But really, Matt Harvey and what you're going to get. Are you going to get a 2013 or 2015 version of Matt? If you do, it goes a long way to Matt trying to make the postseason. He looked good his first time out against the Atlanta Braves. Second start for Harvey today. And Todd, your first day around camp. What have you seen so far from afar watching this team in spring training?
Well, it is my first day here in the camp, and I'm really happy to be here with you guys. Thank you. And I think to Ronnie's point, I think Harvey is a really interesting story this year. But I think from the offensive side, I'm really glad to see Jay Bruce back in the lineup. He's swinging the bat well. Todd Frazier with a home run yesterday seems like his bat's coming around a little bit. And I think that the first base position is going to be interesting here in spring training. Obviously, Dom hasn't been playing, but Agon, if he can get some form back, I think that's a big bonus for the Mets and a great offseason sign if he can get the bat going. As for the Mets trying to get their bats going in general, they've lost 5 consecutive games, or 5 consecutive winless games, I should say. There was a tie in there as well as the Mets take on the Tigers here today in Port St. Lucie. A lot of the regulars in there for Detroit, including Miguel Cabrera, while the lineup's coming up in just a bit.
card of the New York Mets. Buy cash for life from the New York Lottery. You could win $1,000 a day for life. Buy Fios by Verizon. Streaming is only as good as your internet, so get the best internet on the 100% fiber optic network. Go to getfios.com. And by Toyota. Save big all March during Toyota's Ready, Set, Go sales event. Toyota, let's go places. Every Sunday at Citi Field is a McDonald's Family Sunday. Enjoy pregame activities on Mets Plaza. The first 15,000 fans in attendance receive an amazing giveaway item at the gates. Then stay after the game when kids 12 and under can run the bases in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. Today's pitchers are brought to you by Cadillac. Matt Harvey to start things off for the Mets today. Whenever he's done, we'll see Familia and Ramos. Paul Sewald expected. Jacob Rame and Drew Smith, a former Tigers farmhand, could get some action against the team that drafted him today. The Detroit Tigers are in Port St. Lucie, and Matt Harvey ready for his second spring training start. .39-year-old Victor Martinez, the DH, Jose Iglesias, the shortstop today for the Tigers. So a little bit of a challenge for Mr. Matt Harvey as he is on the mound today for the Mets. Run.
Yeah, you're right. Big league lineup and big league hitters for Matt to face today. His first start, 2 innings, gave up a run, but had 2 strikeouts. But you know, his last couple of years, 9-17 and 35 games started. Matt's going to try to turn it around this year.
Harvey pitched 2 innings in his first outing against the Braves.
Take a look at the Mets' Lexus defense. Lagares, you just love watching him play center field. Cicchini, who started as a shortstop, going to get a lot of play at second base and as a utility player. And Plawecki and Darno have been alternating day after day. You know, we've heard a lot of discussion about Matz and Harvey and being healthy, and if they're healthy, what to expect from them. Well, they have been healthy at times, and the record has not been very good. So not only do they have to be healthy, but they've got to turn their game up a notch.
And for Matt Harvey, as Mickey Callaway looks on, is it too much to say that, you know, Harvey really can be a key for this Mets team this year? Whatever he gives them in a positive direction can really lift them toward where they want to be in terms of chasing a playoff spot? This
offseason, I think, going into it, I've been saying that I think he's the biggest key to this Mets team.
We are underway in Port St. Lucie as Leonys Martin takes ball one.
And I think to Ronnie's point, I think he's getting his velocity back. There's health that seems like it's coming back, but he needs to be able to pitch, not just throw, and I think that's something he needs to learn.
You know, we're in a day and age where stuff means so much. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's kind of filling up a basket full of outs behind the mound. That's what you get paid to do. And I agree with Todd. I think he is the biggest unknown component that, if he's able to come through, changes this team immensely from where they were last year.
Well, he won over Bobby Cox the other day. Bobby Cox said it looked like the Matt Harvey of old on the mound on Wednesday in Orlando.
It's like hearing it from God when it comes from Bobby Cox.
Martin hits it hard, but right to Luis Guillorme. So the first down in the books for Matt Harvey today, and Jose Iglesias will stand in. Iglesias hit 300 or better each of his first 2 big league seasons, but batting average and the on-base percentage really plummeted in 2017 for Iglesias. Last year of his deal, he could be traded at some point this year.
I do have to say, and there's so many great shortstops, and he's not the full package of offense and defense, but he is a wizard defensively at the position.
Iglesias with the best fielding percentage in the American League each of the last 2 seasons. And he'll certainly be a valuable commodity come July for teams that are playoff contenders that could use that middle infield type, because he's probably not going to be a Tiger through the entire season.
Well, Tigers are in full rebuild mode, except for the big contracts they have with Cabrera and the aging Victor Martinez. Both are here today.
This is the last year for Martinez, but Cabrera's got a long way to go on his contract. 2 bouncer for Jose Reyes at third. As he slings it across to Flores, and Todd, we see Reyes moving around the diamond, probably something he'll do a lot this season.
I'm sure he's going to be all over the diamond. They even talked about him having some reps in the outfield. I don't know how realistic that is, but look, at his age, he's still healthy. He looks great. He's having a good spring, and he can play any of the diamond in the infield diamond spots. So he's a valuable asset always.
Here's Miguel Cabrera, down 2017 season for him. Not much different from Adrian Gonzalez in a way, battling back injuries and trying to bounce back from that. The only difference is Cabrera's got 6 years left on his deal. Gonzalez has 1.
Cabrera, though, noticeably slimmer to me this spring training. That will help with some of those nagging injuries.
He's a little more fit like he was when I first saw him come up with the Marlins, and his swing hasn't changed much at all. He's been able to hit inside out all parts of the diamond with big pop from day one.
He is just 38 home runs from 500 in his career. If he has a regular Miguel Cabrera season, he could touch that in September. If not, probably looking at next year. He's not that far from 3,000 hits, a couple of years out from that maybe. This is a surefire Hall of Famer when it will all be said and done for Miguel Cabrera. Matt Harvey wanted that
one. Well, everyone thought that was a strike except the most important person, the home plate umpire.
Fans like that. Fans like that when you take it to the dugout. The umpire doesn't like that a whole lot. I can tell you from experience.
Ben May, the home plate umpire, gave that a long look. Not that time either for Harvey, and a full count on Cabrera.
It's like embarrassment of riches. The real good hitters always seem to get that close pitch.
Yeah,
maybe because they deserve it. I don't know.
They do. I never did.
I don't know, Todd. That kind of sounded like a shot at you from Ron. I'm just saying.
No, it wasn't. Not at all. It was not. It was not. I'm really just talking from experience. Remember facing like Mike Schmidt and Pete Rose and people like that. You throw that 1-2 pitch right there, not get it. You're like, whoa. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
There's ball 4 to Cabrera. So the strike 3 call that Harvey did not get.
I guess to your point, you should feel like you've earned it. And Frank Thomas, I think there was always controversy about Frank Thomas because it seemed like he had the smallest strike zone of any league. And look, the guy was a great hitter. He had triple crown type of ability like Miguel, and he got every pitch, it seemed like. Just ask a pitcher.
For a guy who was 6'6", 260, that probably didn't seem very fair. Here's Victor Martinez. Big shift on the infield from the Mets. Harvey dials in strike 1. 39 years old, Victor Martinez. So the Mets play him to pull. And this very well could be the last year of his career. Been a pretty good career, too, that he's turned in.
2,056 hits. That's pretty good. 364 on base for his career.
Just a shade under 300 lifetime average. Bouncer. Harvey fields his position. He'll take it himself to end the top of the first. A 2-out walk to Cabrera. Otherwise, a solid first inning for Matt Harvey. Center field today. Wilmer Flores in the cleanup spot at first base. Gavin Cicchini's been red hot so far this spring, batting in the 8-hole for the Mets this afternoon.
Mike Fiers, 42 and 47 in his career. He was in the rotation for the Astros last year, led them in innings pitched until they got Justin Verlander, and then he didn't really pitch a lot and didn't even pitch in the postseason. He's got a ring though.
That's all you need. Some flashy jewelry.
I wish I had a ring.
Brandon Nimmo takes in the dirt to start Mike Fiers' day. He got close a couple times, Todd.
Close is not wearing a ring, I can tell you that. And by the way, the Yankees are the ones that got the ring every time I got close, so it's a sore spot.
Should have told the fans to earmuff it first before you said that. Well, Brandon Nimmo will certainly take pitches. Michael Fiers walked a lot of hitters last year.
Walked a lot of hitters, hit 13, which led the American League.
Gave up 32 home runs, too. Brandon Nimmo rips one in the air. Deep to right center. Martin watches it go. And for Brandon Nimmo, a leadoff home run against Michael Fiers.
Were you mentioning home runs, Wayne?
.32 allowed by Fiers in 2017, and Nimmo got all of this one.
2-0 fastball down the middle, and I was actually surprised that he was swinging. Honestly, as a leadoff guy, but that's spring training for you. I guess you get your rips when you get them, and wow, he didn't miss that one at all.
It's a long way to straightaway center here at first Data Field. As Lagares fouls one off. The dimensions here mimic Shea Stadium's.
Nice swing there. He really kept his head down on that ball. And look, when you got 2-0, there's a time you can take a hack at it, and he did, and he didn't miss it. And as we said, Fiers was just trying to get it over. He gives up a lot of home runs and served up one there.
Remember when I used to hear hitters talk about keyhole in a pitch, and that meant when you're 2-0, there's this little spot that if a pitcher throws it in that spot, you're going to take a whack at it. That's kind of what Nimmo did there.
I always had trouble with that, honestly, the keyholing, because I think I became so selective that you're almost thinking backwards, because I think as a hitter you have to think aggressively. I'm going to swing, going to swing, going to swing, and then lay off. And sometimes when I tried to keyhole, I'd take pitches that I honestly should have been hitting.
So you'd be shaking your head, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe I just took that pitch.
Lagares couldn't check his swing, and he strikes out for the first out here in the first.
Look at the Mercedes defense for the Tigers. The person to watch, really, Leonis Martin, we talked about, started in Seattle last year, ended with the Cubs, is Iglesias at shortstop. He is outstanding. Derek Norris, the veteran with the A's and the Padres behind the plate.
Jose Reyes takes ball one. We saw Brandon Nimmo lead off with a home run. He'll get some playing time while Michael Conforto rehabs. And to talk more about that, is Conforto with Eamon McEnany.
All right, Wayne, thanks. And Michael, as you take a look at your rehab and your where you are progression-wise, what are you able to do now, first week of March, that you weren't able to do when camp started?
Well, I guess now we're into flips in the cage, which is exciting for me. You know, I definitely been looking forward to this for a long time. Actually, tomorrow I get to do batting practice in the cage, and I get to start that progression. So I'm very excited about it. I mean, everything feels good. I'm letting it eat pretty good in the cage, swinging pretty hard, and everything feels normal, so it's good.
What's the most difficult part about having to be patient as Jose Reyes sends this one out to center with having some drop? You called that one right away, like you've had to battle that before. But what's the most difficult part about having to be patient and cautious, but yet you're obviously eager to make that next step?
It's tough, you know. I mean, as a competitor, I want to be out there. I want to be, I mean, I see Nims hit a home run right there against the wind. I mean, it's pretty impressive, and I want to be out there doing it with him. So it's fun to watch. It's fun to be a part of it just in the dugout, but it's a different thing when I'm out there and doing it myself. So it's tough. It's definitely there's a balance there, but I want to be back healthy. I want to be back for the long haul, and so that's the battle I'm constantly dealing with. But I'm very confident I'll be back the same way.
Now, I know yesterday you were standing in the batter's box while some of the guys, including Jacob deGrom, were throwing bullpen. I thought maybe you lost a bet to have to get in there, but you were saying you were gaining something out of that. What are you trying to accomplish from being in there?
Oh, I'm just standing in against one of the best in the game. I want to see what it looks like. Prepare myself for when I'm coming back, and stay fair. Foul ball. I want to be ready to go when I'm going up against the Scherzers, the Strasburgs, all those guys that are so good. Jake's right there with them. He's if not better. So that's the kind of stuff that I've been missing this offseason, and that's why I've been standing out there.
All right, finally, everyone knows you grew up a Penn State fan because your dad played linebacker for the Nittany Lions. You're still a Penn State fan. New York Giant draft Knicks want to know, would you take Saquon Barkley with the second pick?
I'm a little biased, so he's there. Sorry. I'm a little biased. I'd say, I'd definitely take him. I mean, he's pretty impressive. I watched it all year. He's a playmaker, and he's I think you're in there, Hosey. Yeah, so I'm biased, though. I mean, I think he's a great player.
I appreciate the time and best of luck with the rehab.
Thank you.
Wayne?
All right, Eamon, thank you very much. Michael Conforto, I like his color that he's adding there while the game's happening.
We've seen a couple of players that are ready to take our job here as Wilmer is dusted. Wilmer thinks he was hit by the baseball, but the home plate umpire is saying he was not. I mentioned before, Fiers hit 13 batters, which led the American League last year. And this was a breaking ball that kind of curved around the helmet of Flores.
Well, it hit something there on the back end that made it ricochet.
It's tough as a catcher to catch that one when you got a big body in the way.
Unfair or not, Fiers will always be remembered, by me anyway, as the pitcher who hit Stanton in the face in Milwaukee.
Kind of something that was brought up a week or two ago when former Met Jack Hamilton passed away. He hit Tony Conigliaro. As Wilmer Flores draws a walk, kind of thing sticks with a pitcher when you, especially Conigliaro's case, really messed up his entire career. But as far as Stanton goes, he got over it. Wears that extender on his helmet now, similar to what Wilmer Flores is wearing this year.
Tony Conigliaro was my favorite player when I was a kid. I grew up in Massachusetts. That happened on August 18th before my 7th birthday, which was August 19th. Wow. I refused cake from my mom the next day until Tony C was back in the lineup.
And now Plawecki gets plunked. So Fiers, we mentioned the 13-hit batsman last year. He almost got Flores. Now he fires one up to Plawecki.
Well, that one was a fastball that got away from him and got him on the armor. So at least didn't hurt Plawecki, but look, maybe he's trying to work on some balls inside. The breaking ball got away from him that went around Flores, but that one, it looked like he was trying to work that fastball in on Plawecki and just got away from him.
Todd, you were a guy who stood pretty close to home plate. I don't remember you having all the armor lined up.
There was no such thing at that point. And honestly, I stood very close to the plate, but I didn't get hit very much for a guy that stood that tight on the plate.
Darno goes the other way and grounds a ball into right field. Wilmer Flores scores. Plawecki's on his way to third. Some trouble for Krizan in right field. Plawecki gets a late stop sign as Travis d'Arnaud has an RBI double and a 2-0 Mets lead.
D'Arnaud first pitch swinging here, ball that was running in on him, kept his hands inside. I don't think it wasn't like he was trying to hit the ball that way. I think the ball ran in, he kept his hands inside and was able to get a good result down that right field line.
Krizan didn't get much help in his own bullpen.
Oh my God. Every time we watch these spring training games, I get irritated when I see the people in the bullpen. They just will not move.
Here's Luis Guillorme. Couple of first inning runs for the Mets. Could have had more. Jose Reyes reaching on that ball that Leonis Martin lost in the sun, then tried to steal third and got thrown out. They gave Martin an error for that, by the way. That's a tough error.
Mention that. That is a tough error. I wondered if that changed the rule somewhere. When you lose it in the sun, you don't get a glove on it. Usually it's a base hit.
See if this one stays in play. Eves, Iglesias, Matuk, they all watch it land near the tiki bar.
Todd, does it present any challenges? Fiers is a guy who throws straight over the top as opposed to pitchers who have a more traditional three-quarter slot.
Well, sometimes there's a little bit of extra life to the fastball on a guy that throws straight up over the top, and you think you're going to see it so well, but you'll see a lot of guys hit fly balls or don't quite square it up on a guy that's up over the top, especially if they can pitch effectively up in the zone. I think that was the thing when the first time I ever faced Doc Gooden, obviously teammate of yours, right straight over the top with the big overhand curveball, and I thought, okay, I'm going to see the ball great on this guy, but the life, especially middle and up in the zone, was really, really difficult to get that right hand on top and square the ball up.
1-2 on Guillorme.
I always look for little clues in spring training, and one of the clues you can get is who gets a lot of the playing time. To me, that indicates what the team is thinking or how important they think this player is. Guillorme is one of those guys that's gotten a lot of playing time.
He's gotten a little extra with Ahmed Rosario battling a knee injury last couple days. A wave and a miss there by Guillorme, chasing the off-speed pitch from Fires to end the inning. Couple of runs for the Mets. Brandon Nimmo, a leadoff homer. D'Arnaud, an RBI double to give the Mets the lead. On the Tigers last year. Former Rays farmhand as Harvey deals ball one, but for Matt Harvey, 2017 really could not have gone worse from a result standpoint. Highest ERA in Mets history for a pitcher with at least 90 innings pitched. Fewest innings pitched for a Mets pitcher that allowed 20 or more home runs in a season. And now trying to rebound from all that, Ron.
Yeah, 92 and 2/3 innings the last 2 years. You can see that Harvey is trying to work on that down and away fastball to right-handed hitters. That is something in his heyday, when he was at his best, he could dot that pitch as well as anyone in the game.
There's a strike from Harvey. Seems too that he's working on the very far first base side of the rubber, a little bit more over than we're used to seeing him.
Well, he's as far as you can be, but he's also turned at a 45 degree.
Ground ball for Reyes near the line. Still has that strong arm as he retires Mato.
So it's almost, when you watch Harvey, he's not pitching from the stretch, but as close as you can be to pitching from the stretch. You see guys like Yu Darvish and Steven Strasburg. They now pitch solely from the stretch, do not wind up at all. Harvey's as close as you're going to see, which is a little different than it's been in the past for him.
Yeah, Noah Syndergaard has a similar windup where he's turned toward home plate in that manner, even more so maybe than Harvey. Derek Norris, the batter, was in Nationals camp last year and got released. Ended up with Tampa before they released him as well in June.
In your opinion, Ron, is there some reason? Is it a rhythmic thing so that they don't have a differentiation between windup and stretch? I don't quite understand it myself.
Yeah, I think what is happening in the game today is that they want that phrase, repeatable motion. And the less movement there is by the pitcher, the more you can repeat your motion. I honestly believe there's more deception if you have a full windup, but that's where the game's at now.
Well, I think too, from what I've read in terms of velocity, that you don't see much difference between the stretch and the full windup. And that's, since all that pitchers care about is velocity, then they can easily go work from the stretch. And there's also a thought that the biggest pitches, the most important pitches, are the ones you throw from the stretch anyway, because that's when guys are in scoring position and can hurt you.
You know, kids that are taught at early ages to pitch usually are taught to pitch from the stretch and then work backwards to a full windup after a while. You can see the first inning, Harvey was locked in. He's having a little difficulty now throwing the ball where he wants to this inning, even though he got the first out.
Hit hard by Norris as he splits the gap in left center. Nemo's chasing it down. Norris gets extra bases. And the 29-year-old catcher will pull up with a double.
Come on, Aver. Come on, kid.
He goes down and hits that ball. Harvey at that point, 3-1. We're talking about it leading up to that. He gets behind. His rhythm was a little off. Obviously, you got to come in there 3-1, and Norris took advantage of it. He hit a laser right there.
I'll always think of Derek Norris when he went 5 for 5 in that game for the San Diego Padres. Justin Upton hit that home run off Familia. And the Mets kind of rebounded from that game, which was kind of the low point of that season, and took off from there.
Yeah, rebounded immediately, somehow. Harvey wanting to appeal at first. Wilmer Flores is not standing there yet.
Well, but if you're going to appeal, you have to come to the set position, step off the mound, and then check it at first. He's called safe anyway.
Well, he did all that just with nobody to throw to. Flores was not near the base and unaware of the situation.
Ben,
sloppy.
you gotta step off there, right? I think he did. I think he jumped.
Batter is Cody Eves, career minor leaguer to this point.
Heard Ron Gardenhire's voice down there. Did you hear him? He said, did he step off or did he jump?
Ron Gardenhire's first year as Tigers manager back in the AL Central. Longtime skipper of the Twins and a former Met.
Who would ever think in 2018 that the outlier for a manager would be a guy who had great experience and had a position for a long period of time with a team? Really, the people that got hired this winter are people that didn't have any experience.
There's 5 managers that had never managed the big league game that are hired this year.
Harvey getting squeezed a little bit, 2-1 the count, but all the new managers this year, half of the teams that went to the postseason last year, but a lot of young managers, first-time managers, all on that list except for Ron Gardenhire. There's one right there, Mickey Callaway. Well, Todd, you played for a lot of organizations. You underwent a lot of different managers. What did you like about a manager? What turned you off to a certain manager? What are some things that stood out?
I think as a player, there's sort of that cliche that you want a player's manager. What does that really mean? I think it means there's a guy in the dugout, in the clubhouse that you know is going to have your back. And by the way,
this one will hang for Kazmarski, and there's 2 down.
You know, that statement is sometimes overused because there's sometimes players that aren't great guys to have their back all the time. There's guys that do things that as a manager you've got to be tough too. And I think that was something last year that I saw. Collins had probably a really difficult line to walk with Harvey and not coming into the clubhouse. Hey, a great player's manager, are you going to protect him? Well, at that point, there was some accountability that was called for, and I think that shows the maturity of a manager as well. So it's not just you got your back at all costs, it's you got your back and you know he's going to defend you, but at the same time, you got to be tough.
That's a good point. You know, what happens with a manager is that every time you act in a good way or a bad way with a player, there's 24 other eyes on you watching what you're doing. So you're accountable to the rest of that squad with a player.
Yeah, both of these teams undergoing managerial changes. Can that be refreshing to a clubhouse?
At times, yeah, it certainly can be refreshing. It depends on what they're looking for. They come off a really difficult year last year with all the injuries and all of the expectations going into the season. So coming into this one fresh is kind of like a reboot, and I think it probably is something that's going to be good for them to get around. And I think it's something that Callaway is also, he's really been able to sort of build on that energy of him coming in.
Harvey falling behind Jason Krizan.
Kind of been the theme of the inning for Harvey. That's Gardenhire on the right, Mickey Callaway on the left. That was interesting what you said. 3 teams that reach the postseason have new managers. That would never happen.
No, that's unbelievable. Yeah. Goes to, I think, the era of everything being so stats driven as well. And that's why you see managers that have never managed the game before, because there's analytics that say that they can run the team sometimes from the helm up above, and the manager is somebody that they need to communicate with players and with media, and not so much a decision maker anymore.
Is there anyone in particular that you enjoyed playing for?
Well, absolutely.
Krizan swings and misses to end the inning.
You know, the Mets fans might cover their ears on this because Joe Torre was one of my favorite guys and favorite managers of all time, and I think there's something about the way he was able to handle the veterans and the young guys and treat them both the same, make them feel special, and he was great with the media all the time. So very consistent, great manager.
Couple of scoreless innings for Matt Harvey so far this afternoon. Season plans that include potential 2018 postseason access. For tickets, visit Mets.com/plans or call 718-507-TIXX. Matt Harvey ended the top of the second with his first strikeout. 2 scoreless innings so far.
Good changeup to get out of that inning. No one in the bullpen, so maybe going 3 innings, which would be nice to see.
Yeah, about that time for pitchers to start stretching out a little bit. Gavin Cecchini leads off the bottom of the second. 5 for 11. Couple of bombs for Cecchini this spring.
Well, when he came up last year, you know, we've watched him now for 4 or 5 seasons as he's been developing. When he came up last year, he was lost. I mean, his swing was lost. And watching him in spring training, he's back to where he was before, a real offensive threat.
And it wasn't just in the big leagues last year either. At AAA,
right.
His batting average dropped by about 60 points from the year before. There's that big curveball from Fires. Cecchini wraps it on the ground. Cody Eves throws him out.
You know, I was lucky. I didn't spend a lot of time in the minor leagues, but I can see if you're a young player and you've been in the minor leagues a long time, you can have one of those years where it's just a kind of a kick away year because you got not the dauber down, but you get kind of frustrated that you're not in the big leagues yet.
And especially if you know, I mean, he was a first pick, so he's a guy that expected to be in the big leagues. So when you're going back and repeating years in the minor leagues, it can be tough on you mentally, especially if you're struggling. Then you start questioning your future as well.
This would be a third straight year for Cicchini at AAA if indeed he does end up there. Really not a spot for him on the major league roster at the moment.
I think one other point with somebody like Cicchini, when you start to struggle and you lose your confidence in your swing, for example, in the minor leagues, and then you start questioning, okay, am I ever going to get back to the big leagues? How am I going to adjust? I think it says a lot about him that he's made the adjustments. He's swinging the bat well this year, and most of the time, you should call this.
Montook retiring Kazmarski.
Most of the time, you'll see, as he did, goes back to what got him there. Sometimes when you try to make adjustments to change things when you're in the minor leagues or just coming up, those kind of things can backfire on you, and a lot of times you have to go back to the basics, and that seems like that's what he's done, and that's what's building his confidence.
And here's Brandon Nimmo, released his home run smile in the first inning with a leadoff shot off of Fires.
You know, that's a great point, Todd, because we only hear the success stories of the launch angle guys who have decided to hit the ball in the air more than on the ground. There's got to be equally as many guys that try to do that, and it kind of ruins their swing for a while.
Leonis Martin is one of those guys. Martin actually had 15 home runs in 2016 and said he regretted it because it messed up his swing.
Yeah, I know I never could have been successful with that philosophy with my hitting stroke. As soon as I had guys try to mess with me to get off the plate more or try to drive the ball in the air more.
Easy grounder for Jose Iglesias as Nimmo gets thrown out to end the inning. 1-2-3 for Michael Fires here in the bottom of the second. 2-0 Mets. Up, at least for part of it, a second time. It will be the number 9 batter, Alexei Amarista, to lead off, but then back to the top of the order for the Tigers. Harvey's looked good so far today. He's just around the plate more, I think.
Yeah, the first inning was relatively easy, especially if you discount the walk to Cabrera. I thought that pitch could have been called a strike. Second inning was a little bit of a slog, so let's see if he can finish up strong here in the third. That would make it an outstanding outing for a starting pitcher.
Good breaking ball that got Amarista to chase.
Interesting, they've got Harvey a little more on top of that slider than last year. He's kind of around it. That's Dave Raccanello, longest tenured Met.
You like that pitch, 0-2?
Love it. And I think that Dave Island, if you followed his career at all and how he works with pitchers, he loves his pitchers to pitch off the plate if they get the advantage 0-2. Move the feet of the hitter. Make him a little uncomfortable.
Cicchini handles this one. And Amarista is the first out here in the third inning. One thing Dave Island has harped on this spring is to give the catchers more responsibility. And Todd, from a calling the game standpoint, how much should the catchers be involved in those advanced scouting reports and knowing what to call to these opposing hitters?
I think they should be very involved in it, and I think that's one of the things. When I moved from behind the plate, I came up from the time I was 8 years old until my second year in the big leagues. I was a catcher. And one of the things I really prided myself on was calling a game, being involved in every pitch, knowing the hitters. And a lot of times people think, okay, you've got a guy who's 0-2, okay, you throw in, you break him all away. It's not that simple because you have to know your pitching staff as well, right? And to work with a pitcher and set up hitters and do a good job at that part of the game was one of the funnest things that I did.
Nice play by Cicchini with a bare hand and a flip to first, getting the speedy Leonis Martin.
Now, I know from my years at third base coming in on that charging play, wow. You can see right there that he didn't get a full grip on the ball, but he got rid of it, which is what was most important. And that's a really difficult play. It makes it look easy sometimes with some of these guys that can come in and make that charging play. David Wright was amazing at coming in and making that charging play, but it's a lot of concentration, and sometimes you don't have a full grip on the ball. You still got to get it over there.
Hey, threw the old palm ball to first.
He did indeed.
Well, the thing sometimes that is never talked about in that play is that the first baseman starts to get a little anxious because he gets closer and closer. You don't know how hard that ball is going to come at you.
Right, and sometimes they do come up and fire it at you as a first baseman. I've been there too.
What was the toughest position for you to adjust to playing after being a catcher for all those years?
Well, I mean, I guess it was third base only because I had, I joked that I've never seen the field from fair territory before, right? So from the time I was a kid, catching, that was all I knew. And when I got thrust out to third base, look, I was young. I wanted to be behind the plate. I was kind of locking horns with the organization at the same time. So it took me a little while to learn to play third base with any kind of finesse at all.
This one, Harvey deflects. Cicchini with another bare hand. This time, no throw. And Iglesias with an infield single.
And I think to your point, the toughest part about that was that at third base, it's a long throw, but you've got the most time because a lot of the balls that are the easiest to field are the ones that are hit hard at you. There's just reaction plays. It's all the other ones that I had to kind of get used to not trying to rush because I had enough time to come up and make a strong throw.
Well, here's Miguel Cabrera. Cabrera is owed $184 million still by the Tigers as Jacob Rame throws in the Mets bullpen. Cabrera swings at the first pitch. Jose Reyes will throw out Iglesias at second. And the side retired. 3 scoreless innings for Matt Harvey, working on a good afternoon.
Well, Todd and I were talking between the break about what you like, not only the spotting of his fastball, but the way he changed speeds, like a complete pitcher. Todd, you were talking about, everyone talks about velocity. That's not always the way to get hitters out.
It's not. I mean, you throw 100, obviously that's going to help you, but when you're in 92 to 95 and even topping out at 96, fastballs still get hit. They've always been hit from the beginning of time. You've got to be able to have the breaking ball off of the fastball or some kind of change of speed in the zone to be effective, and I thought that's what he did a really good job of today.
Jerry's Familia will likely come on for the top of the fourth. And for all the angst that fans felt after Steven Matz's second straight outing, giving up 5 runs, there's got to be at least a sigh of relief around the city that Matt Harvey has looked good in his first 2 spring starts.
Not only for Mets fans, but for Matt Harvey himself to have success in spring training is going to go a big way.
Derek Norris battling the win on a very high pop-up to retire Juan Lagares.
It'll go a long way to restoring his confidence, because when you get beat up like he's been beat up the last 2 years, I don't care who you are, you lose your confidence. And once you lose your confidence, it's hard to get it back.
I think he probably feels like he has something to prove this year too, and I think going into a contract year and coming off such a tough year on the field and off the field, I think he's got to be really focused and look, he's got something to prove this year, not only to Mets fans but to himself.
Michael Fiers' day is done. Johnny Barbado, the new pitcher, when we come back. First pitch from Johnny Barbado misses inside to Jose Reyes. Reyes, who reached on a Leonis Martin error, a ball that he lost in the sun in the first inning. Barbado, former Yankee and former Pirate.
See his numbers with the Pirates last season in 24 games.
Did not allow a run in his final 8 appearances for Pittsburgh and was picked up off waivers in January by the Tigers. Originally drafted by the Padres, so he's bounced around a little bit. We talked earlier about Matt Harvey working the first base side of the rubber. See Barbado on the third base side here. What's the benefit for a pitcher on which side he picks?
Well, first, it's how comfortable you are on what side of the rubber. That always comes first. Some guys just feel more comfortable on the third base side or the first base side. Now, if you're a guy who's in between and it doesn't really matter to you, then you'll try to move to a side that'll give you the most advantage with your best pitch. So if you're a kind of a glove side guy, meaning a right-hander, you like to throw down and away or down and in to left-handed hitters, down and away to right-handed hitters, you might be on the first base side. It gives you a little better angle.
We saw Mickey Callaway chatting with Matt Harvey there. I mean, for Callaway and Dave Island, if you can get Matt Harvey right, you've done a lot of your job already.
Yeah, it's going to take not only a great pitching coach, but also part psychologist also, right?
Lazy fly ball off the bat of Reyes. Krizan makes the catch. Reyes thought that high fly in the first worked so well, he tried again. Here's Wilmer Flores. We talked a bit earlier about changing positions and what that's like for a player. Flores, who's had to move all around the infield. He's literally played all 4 infield positions and started at them at different times in his career. He'll play primarily first and second base this year. But Todd, how can that affect a player at the plate when he's going through different position changes?
Well, I think one of the things with Wilmer is that the reason he's on this team in this lineup is because he can swing the bat and he can play multiple positions. I don't think anybody's going to think that he's a defensive specialist. He can swing the bat. That's going to keep him in the lineup. There you go.
Swings it here, hits it a long way to left center field, and that ball is off the wall. Flores digs for second, and he has a stand-up double. Just missed a home run.
Well, the wind blowing in on any other day here in Port St. Lucie, that would have been a bomb, Todd.
Yeah, you see him, his first couple steps out of the box, he thinks it's gone. Wind holds it up a little bit, but look, he got a fastball out over the plate. He doesn't miss many fastballs, and he was ready to jump on it. Good swing, head down, good extension, and that right there, he thinks it's going out of the park.
And you know, the other big thing about Wilmer's part on this team is he murders left-handed pitching. So, you know, he's going to be out there against the left-handers.
Especially with left-handed hitting first baseman Dominic Smith or Adrian Gonzalez, whoever's there. Easy platoon.
I don't know this for a fact, but I would think that Adrian Gonzalez at his age would welcome you know, a day off here or there against left-handed pitching.
I think he's going to be thinking, make the team first and be an impact guy again because his back's been bothering him. And then if he's in that role, yeah, of course, take some days off against the tough lefties.
Plawecki looks at a strike. We see Plawecki now with this bigger crouch that he's in. A couple of years ago when he first came up, he was standing almost like Wilmer Flores, straight up in the right-handed batter's box, but he's got a deeper crouch set into his stance now. He feels like that's what he used to do in college. He's trying to get back to it.
When Plawecki first came up, he reminded me of your stance a little, Todd. He used to stand straight up and right on the dish.
I was going to say, when you compared him to Wilmer, that was me. Straight up and down, hands low, try to have as little movement as possible. I got my sort of inspiration from watching Steve Garvey as a kid. Straight up and down, use the whole field.
Work on the forearms.
Yes.
I don't remember you throwing the right arm over your head after your big home runs in the ALCS for the Orioles.
I wish I had that. Yeah. My dad always told me to make it seem like you'd done it before.
Yeah. Here's your group.
There we go.
Team that had some success. The Mets, late 90s, early 2000s, pretty good teams. Todd Zeal, a big part of that, as Plawecki serves one to Jason Krizan in right field. Inning over, a double from Wilmer Flores. The Mets don't score here in the third. First 25,000 fans in attendance will receive a Yoenis Cespedes Garden Gnome, courtesy of New Balance. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. From the years past, those Garden Gnomes are a hot item, so get your tickets fast. Jerry's Familia, new pitcher for the Mets here in the fourth.
Well, Familia, 51 saves 2 years ago. Kind of a lost season last year with surgery and only pitched in 26 games. He'll be another big part of this team if he can return to form.
Victor Martinez pushes one foul toward the right field corner.
Victor Martinez is one of those hitters that if he swings, he makes contact. Very rarely will you see him swing and miss.
Had a pretty scary 2017, did Martinez. Had to have a procedure done to correct his heart rhythm. Something they called cardiac ablation.
Bruce Bochy, I think, had that same procedure done last year.
Kind of affected certainly his 2017 on-field performance. 2016 he was pretty good still. 27 home runs, hit .290. He's a good splitter from Familia.
Yeah, he's an interesting hitter because he has a great grasp of the strike zone. You know, he's not going to swing it in a lot of pitches like that splitter out of the strike zone, but it's early in spring.
That's one of the things as a hitter, though, that makes Familia so difficult. He's got such great movement, late movement on all of his pitches.
Good pitch there to strike out Victor Martinez. Took even more off as Martinez was way out in front.
So that's the slider grip. He's on the side of the ball with his two fingers there. And that was late and down and in. And a very enticing pitch for left-handed hitters because they love the ball down and in. So you show it to them there and then break it out of that zone.
When he's really feeling good, Familia, his slider has a lot of bottom to it. It drops out of the zone instead of across, which makes it a much more difficult pitch to stay on as a hitter. One of the things I was also noticing with Familia, very much on the first base side of the rubber, as we were talking about with other hitters. As a right-handed hitter, I would hate to have him on the other side because his ball is so heavy and sinks so hard into you. I don't want that extra motion coming into me as a right-hander.
Swing it, out of way.
Yeah, it would almost be the ball would be coming out of his hands right at your kind of midsection and end up at your toe tops.
Some guys with that three-quarter delivery, especially with sinkers, if they got on the third base side as a right-handed hitter, it became a little more difficult to stay on the ball that was on the outside corner because it felt like it was moving away from you even further than it does in this case.
There's another slider from Familia. We've seen a couple of those already this inning. Seems like he's trying to mix his pitches a little bit more than he did certainly last year.
Well, I think when he is not at his best, he gets just where he's a one-dimensional pitcher, where he's just trying to pound sinker after sinker after sinker.
Right to Luis Guillorme. Didn't have to move for that liner off the bat of Mato. You should see Ahmed Rosario back soon, day to day with left knee irritation. Tweaked his knee running the bases on Saturday. Here's Derek Norris, doubled his first time. Norris trying to find his way onto the Tigers roster. James McCann, their everyday catcher. Backup really could be anybody. John Hicks is on their roster as well. There's Chad Bell warming up. Look at the Tigers. They still have a pretty good lineup. Castellanos along with Cabrera, Victor Martinez, whatever Mato can give them. That pitching starts to get a little lean. They got Michael Fulmer, Jordan Zimmerman, and then
Matt Boyd, Daniel Norris. Those are names that they've got to make a couple of leaps for them to get to be in that elite status.
They've got Francisco Liriano in camp. Their bullpen really wide open. Shane Green listed as their closer at the moment.
It's the former Yankee, right? Shane Green, right-hander, good slider.
They've got Alex Wilson in the pen, but it's going to be some lean times in Detroit with their pitching staff. Derek Norris is 2 for 2.
Well, only 64 wins for the Tigers last year. Wayne, you and I were talking before the game about the Mets struggled with their ERA last year. The Tigers were really bad, worse than the Mets.
5.36, the worst ERA in Major League Baseball, belonged to the Tigers. Reds were 5.17, the Mets 5.01. Three teams that were above 5 for the year. Figures to not be much better in Detroit this year.
Familia calling out the catcher Plawecki.
Check it off. Mound visit.
There you go. Where are you putting it in your?
I got this box in here. There's under the umpires. I got a little rectangle. I could keep track of my mound visits. I don't even know if the catchers are 100% sure what constitutes as a mound visit or not.
In that case, Familia called Plawecki out. Plawecki's like throws his hands up. It's not my fault. I didn't want to go out there.
Yeah. Do you get credit if you only go halfway out there and then
that's not
converse about it?
Well, Travis d'Arnaud was saying to me yesterday that if an umpire takes one off the mask and you want to go out to just give him a minute, you have to ask permission for that not to count against you as a mound visit.
Yeah, which the umpire is probably not so happy to give you at that point. He just wants you to go away for a minute.
So there's one of the courtesies of the game that might not come to fruition this year. It's a shame.
And it's even on cross-ups, you have to still get permission. It's not exactly considered a mound visit. But even Travis was saying, 6, that's probably about how often I'd go out in a game anyway. So it's not as if they didn't really keep track before, but he said it doesn't sound like it would be more than 6 or 7 times that he'd be at the mound in a given game.
It's not really the number. It's just that sometimes it's a crunch time in a game, and you hate to even think about, boy, do I have one more visit out there.
There's ball 4 from Familia, so a couple of base runners with 2 outs here in the 4th inning.
At this point, they don't have any repercussions for number 7 anyway, so I guess until they do, it's just a thought in the back of your mind at this point.
Although Joe Torre said that violating the rule, and if something ensues, that the umpire could throw the catcher out, I guess. That still is on the table. I don't see that happening, but
it's not been definitely determined at this point, right?
Now. Jason Krazan stands in with 2 outs. I guess there's a possibility, if there was the second mound visit for a pitcher, an inning from a pitching coach or a manager, they have to change the pitcher. Yeah. So that could be the penalty. But it's all still being sorted out before the start of the regular season. And if one of the infielders comes in to talk to a pitcher, that's a mound visit.
Well, part of the problem is that the sign stealing has become an issue because of the people that run the video in the locker room and clubhouse. They can get the signs. That's the issue. So why don't you just take those people out of play? have them in a room that's isolated. The players can't talk to them during the game. Game should be played on the field anyways. And even go this far. On a replay, have the manager have to make the call. Don't go to the phone. Don't talk to someone who's seen it on replay. It's up to the manager, if he sees something funny, to make the call from the dugout. That would speed up the game.
Nice pitch by Familia. You know what would really speed up the game is just stick the pitch clock out there. Just do it. That's the only thing that could really make a difference. See the split figure grip there from Familia.
You know, I'm a big believer that it won't affect the pitcher as much as it's going to affect the hitter. There's certain counts where hitters need to regroup and kind of figure out what their approach is going to be, and they take a little longer time.
And even as a hitter, I don't think it would have an effect on the game that much anyway. It's more mental than it really would be physical. To feel like you're being rushed, like you have to be in there. I think most guys, most of the time, are going to be within that time limit anyway. I think it's just a mental thing on the field.
It's like being rushed last night in your acceptance speech. You know, you
hear the music.
Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable.
Into the shift, it's Guillorme, the shortstop, ranging all the way over to end the inning. As Krizan is retired, Jerry's Familia with a scoreless top of the fourth. Featuring behind-the-scenes video and live updates straight from Port St. Lucie on Mets Blog, presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV. Third pitcher of the day for the Tigers is Chad Bell as he faces Travis d'Arnaud to start the bottom of the fourth.
Over the top, easy gas here from Chad Bell. 4 starts, 28 games last year for the Tigers. More hits than innings pitched is always not a good sign for a pitcher.
And that's a wide margin, too. He's got the gas, that's for sure. Native of Knoxville, Tennessee, was drafted by the Rangers in 2009. A.J. Ramos throwing in the Mets bullpen. Bell gave up 12 homers in 62 innings last year. His ERA climbed near 7. Just didn't work out for him last year. 29 years old, so now or never. Good fastball, and it's 2-2.
Well, if you're left-handed, all you have to do is take a note out of the book of Jerry Blevins. If you can spot your fastball, although Chad Bell's got a lot more in his fastball than Jerry has, but you have to have an effective breaking ball that you can throw for a strike and that you can throw out of the strike zone. That'll keep you on a ball club.
Spotted that fastball to get d'Arnaud looking. Ben May didn't have that wide of a margin earlier, but
Travis didn't think this was a strike. And it's hard to tell. It might have been in a little bit, but they were working him in. They worked him in first at bat, and he got the double down the right field line. He tried a couple of more balls inside on him in that at bat, and then got him to freeze on that last one.
I always thought, there's been so much discussion about someday having, AI or robotic umpire behind the plate. I always thought that would be the most difficult pitch for hitters to adjust to, is that high in the strike zone pitch that's not usually called would be called by a robotic umpire if you're going by the rules.
I think it would be the most difficult pitch for a hitter to adjust to, as you're saying, to be able to actually put in play well. It's really difficult. If you can spot that on that inner third of the plate or really inside corner and top of the strike zone, really tough pitch to hit.
I think we'll see that in the next decade or so.
Boy, there's going to be. I mean, there's a million things I think that have to go right before you get the right technology to have that work where there's not an issue.
Yeah, I hope not.
Guillorme goes the other way. Martin tracks it down. 2 up, 2 down.
You like the umpire behind there, right?
I do. I like the human element. I mean, I was sort of old school with the replay, but I think the replay has done a lot to confirm the fact that the umpires do a really good job. And I think from that perspective, I think it's been good, but I like the human element. I like the umpire taking control of the game back there, and I think it would be a shame to see him replaced by a robot.
That's what Joe West says. He loves replay because it proves they get it right 99% of the time.
Of course Joe would say that. I'm surprised he didn't say 100.
Exactly. You weren't on the Mets team when he body slammed the pitcher, were you?
No,
Dennis Cook?
No. Was I? No, I don't think I was there for that one.
Joe West, if you're a country music fan, you probably have bought one of his albums.
The Cowboy.
Gavin Cecchini grounded to third his first time. Mets got both of their runs in the first inning. Brandon Nimmo will lead off homer. Travis d'Arnaud doubled home Wilmer Flores. Phillies fan a little lost as he's watching the Mets and Tigers here today.
Yeah, not even the right coast.
The Phillies should be an interesting team this year. Gabe Kapler, their new manager, a very analytically driven new skipper there.
The first manager in the history of the game that when he walks in the weight room, players leave.
Yeah, really. It's Ruben Amaro Jr., the former Phillies GM. Ruben was kind of an old school guy when he was running that Phillies team. That will no longer be the case. They might be at the top of the analytically driven teams now with Gabe Kapler in charge.
Made that early signing of Carlos Santana. I still hear buzzing about Jake Arrieta. That's one of the teams that are considering signing Jake with the Nationals.
Still a ton of free agents available. National League East last year was a one-team division. Washington ran away. The third largest division deficit in National League history. A 20-game lead they finished with over the Marlins. The largest division win in National League history, the 1986 New York Mets. Gavin Cecchini draws a walk.
And with that 20-game margin, as to your earlier point, they get a new manager.
Everybody got a new manager pretty much in the division.
Right. What'd you say the other day? Don Mattingly was the most tenured manager in the NL?
That's right. Wow. That's right. We'll see how the Phillies take shape with some of their younger players starting to mature. We saw Aaron Nola come on pretty well last year. Jared Eichhoff. Kazmarski looks at a strike. Kazmarski won a collegiate batting title when he was at the University of Evansville. Hit .465 in his last year of college. Pretty good year.
Stay on him.
Bell throws over. I see many stolen bases for the Mets this year. Reyes and Rosario aren't getting them. I don't think anybody will get too many.
I was trying to think of some of the better collegiate hitters. Robin Ventura, who was a great major league hitter, but he probably was the best collegiate hitter, right?
When he said that, I was thinking that's Robin Ventura-esque. Yeah, .465 as a junior or senior in college. I think Robin was the college player of the decade, I think is what they called him.
I want to say he had a unbelievable game hitting streak, like 60-something.
Yeah, he eclipsed DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak in college. And tell a funny story about this. Torey Lovello and I were teammates at UCLA, and Torey played with him in the summer, and we tried to get him at UCLA, and they wouldn't listen to us.
Little chopper. Eves fields in foul territory.
I was playing in Alaska. Torey was playing in Santa Maria.
Okay.
And Robin was playing with him as a senior in high school. And Torey's like, we got to get this guy. We called our coaches. They said, yeah, we know about him, but I don't think he's going to hit with much power, and he's too slow, and I'm not sure about his arm. There you go. 16 years and 2,000 games later, and a 6 Gold Gloves. Might have missed that one.
Yeah.
It's a credibility crusher right there. Down the left field line, Matuk runs out of room.
Boy, that got somebody in the stands.
Yeah. Hopefully that fan is okay. And even if you're far away, you still got to be paying attention to what's happening on the field if you're near it at all.
Folks here on top of it, though, they got there right away. Security personnel here at Port St. Lucie. Played against Robin, not with him. You did. He's got to be one of your favorite teammates.
He is. He's one of my all-time favorite guys, and he and I just gelled. The sense of humor. He's very subtle. He's out there every day, and he's everybody he played with would probably tell you Robin's one of my favorite teammates.
Yeah.
Full count. Cecchini will take off. It's ball 4, so Kazmarski walks. Back-to-back free passes from Chad Bell, who continues to have trouble finding the strike zone. Now Brandon Nimmo gets a chance.
Well, the hardest thing for a manager is when you bring in relievers and they walk of batters. You just can't have that. And, you know, those are the kind of things that Chad Bell will have to work on in spring training if he wants to win the favor of Ron Gardenhire.
Nimmo with a leadoff home run, his second homer this spring. Hit the ball well. Goes after the first pitch here and pops it out of play. Take a look back to the first inning.
Yeah, this was a 2-0 pitch. First batter. So he got a ball out over the plate, drove it. And as I said at the time, I was a little surprised that he was swinging at that ball as a leadoff hitter, but the game has changed, and it is spring training. He picked one out. Fiers gives up a lot of home runs, and he served one up to him that first at bat.
Smiling around the bases again, like he always does after he homers. Socks this one the other way, but Leonis Martin into left center field to make the catch. Couple of walks, but the Mets don't score here in the fourth. Carrying a 2-0 lead. A couple of first inning runs as we take a look at the big free agents that are still available. Here we are, March 5th, 24 days from opening day, and these guys still don't have homes.
It really is shocking to me. Todd, what do you think is as a former player, what's the last date that you need to be in camp, you think, ready to play by March 29th?
Well, it's unbelievable that these guys are not in camp right now. It's just weird to think that they're working out somewhere else. So, look, I think we've done it before with a 4-week camp.
That's right.
But I think you need 4 weeks to be ready.
A.J. Ramos starting the 5th inning against Alexi Amarista, but these are good players. I mean, all these guys can help a team win. Yeah,
Cabrera as an extra outfielder. Cargo could be a starter for most teams in the game.
It does look like Ichiro is going to go back to Seattle. Reports that a 1-year deal for him is coming as we take a look at Ramos's numbers from last year.
Matt Holliday, a professional hitter.
I think that may be one of the things that must be most difficult. These guys may have to be forced into retirement on guys that thought they'd be able to kind of pick their own time to go out.
You know, the game has always been that if you've produced, teams will look at what you've done in the past and go, boy, you know, this guy on the back of his baseball card tells me he's a player that can help our team.
Little bloop. Lagares will handle that.
But that is not how teams look at players now. They have their own way, their own analytics and sabermetrics of projecting what players are going to be, how they're going to produce. Age is a huge factor again. It's working against guys.
to the top of the Tiger order, Leonis Martin. He signed pretty early, got a job right away, but we saw John Jay on that list. Both were with the Cubs last year. Both kind of do the same thing.
John Jay is an excellent player who can start for you, be a fourth outfielder. He's a guy that can pinch hit. He can do a lot of great things, but I think, boy, they're getting betrayed by the calendar right now.
This one hit hard. Kazmarski got turned around, but makes the catch anyway.
Yeah,
two quick outs for Ramos.
The one name on there that has been surprising to me watching it all offseason is Moustakas. And Moustakas, look, the guy is a quality third baseman. He's got big pop, left side of the plate. I think the thing that you don't know is, was there something that came earlier in the offseason that might have been something that he should have taken that he didn't, and then gets into the no man's land and now he winds up here? That you don't know, but he's a guy that's still surprising that he's out there.
Well, I think for Moustakas, what has happened to him that might be unique for other players, unique for him and not other players, is that he's run out of teams. You know, most teams have a third baseman ready to go in camp, like the Mets had Todd Frazier. You know, so he ran out of options after a career year.
And even speaking of Todd Frazier, I think earlier on in the offseason, the Mets would have loved to have had a chance to take a crack at a Moustakas, but they thought he was going to be priced out of their ability to sign him. And so Frazier became a much more reasonable target. Now Moustakas.
Brandon Nimmo races out to make the catch. Good running play by Nimmo to retire Iglesias.
Knowing now what they knew then, Moustakas might be priced within a range to be able to be picked up by somebody like the Mets.
Harvey, Familia, and Ramos have worked on a 3-hitter through 5 for the Mets today. She's come prepared, dabbing herself with the towel. Shane Green had a very good 2017 for the Tigers. He's their appointed closer these days.
Well, he had the best year of anyone in that bullpen for the Tigers. Good fastball, hard slider.
Tigers have made a few changes. Mike Gerber is in the game as their new center fielder. Pete Kozma playing short, and Dawel Lugo at second base.
The ex-Cardinal, right? Pete Kozma?
That's right. Ruined the Nationals' 2012 season.
Boy, he did. What were the Nationals up? 6-0 with Gio on the mound in that game? Yep. Something like that.
Pete Kozma delivered one of the biggest hits of that series, of that Game 5, to help the Cardinal come back late. He's like the Bucky Dent of Nationals history. Lagares strikes out for a second time.
See, Green, something that he does that you don't really recognize unless you're a hitter. That ball gets by Lagares. It's only 94. Not that that's only 94, but it's 94. But he short arms, which actually makes it feel like it jumps on you as a hitter. It also makes it look like his slider is coming in. His fastball and his slider look very similar out of his hand because of that short arm, and it just kind of breaks out of the zone.
Well, I'm talking about a former Cardinal shortstop. Their shortstop now had a good day today.
Paul DeYoung turned his 3 or 4 good months last year into a 6-year contract as Paul Sewald gets loose in the Mets bullpen. The Cardinals got him at a pretty inexpensive price, $26 million. Inexpensive, that is, if he continues to do at least some of what he did last year.
Well, he was outstanding. He and Tommy Pham were the offense for the Cardinals last year. Whenever I think of those deals, my first thought is Jose Altuve. You know, he signed one of those deals years ago that the Astros are still reaping the benefits of having an MVP playing for not a lot of money when you consider the kind of player he is.
I think those are good deals by the club.
Yeah.
You got to pick your guys. Obviously, you want guys that feel like they've got the body that's going to stay healthy and be in the lineup every day. But you can really make a good value out of a guy and get some extended years on him if you pick those right guys and lock them up early.
Cubs did that with Anthony Rizzo, remember?
That's right.
Around the majors, presented by Audi, as Reyes goes too far in a check swing.
Well, the Cardinals have done that in the past with guys like Alan Craig and Colton Wong and Piscotty and Carpenter, extending their contracts through that arbitration eligible and, of course, free agent years.
Well, the Braves did it with Freddie Freeman and Julio Teheran. Reyes smacks this one. Mike Gerber, the new center fielder, races back, reaches out, and makes the catch on the run. Good play by Gerber, robbing Reyes of extra bases.
That was a good short swing by Jose right there. Just putting the bat to the ball with 2 strikes. It's a great jump on that ball. I didn't think he was going to get to it, and he just caught up to it.
As a hitter, Todd, you want results anytime you're in a game. You want to get a hit, but you feel good after that at bat.
Spring training, especially, you want to put good at bats, put good wood on the ball. I think he's got to be really happy with that.
We've seen some excellent center field play from the Tigers today. Leonis Martin tracked down a couple of balls, and now Gerber robbing Reyes. Flores just missed a homer his last time, doubled off the wall.
You'd be surprised how better your pitching gets if you put some defensive players out there and catch the ball.
Yeah, 100%. It's confidence. We've talked about it before. And that goes to pace of play sometimes for a pitcher, too. A pitcher that gets the ball and throws it, the defense a lot of times is more ready behind him, wants to make the plays behind him.
The breaking ball snapped off by Shane Green. He works a 1-2-3 inning. We're through 5 in PSL. Tebow having a long conversation with Steven Matz.
You know, I like that, and it's one of the things that makes Tim Tebow special. Here he's trying to, get himself better at baseball. Steven Matz probably not feeling good about himself in his first 2 starts, and Tebow's a leader. It wouldn't matter if he was playing baseball, great at football that he was. If he was a CEO of a company, he's going to be a leader. He's that kind of individual.
I don't know if Steven Matz would be taking advice from any other high-A minor league outfielder.
There you go. He is just one of those people that people gravitate towards. You know, he just is. Seawald's year last year, 57 games.
Tied up Cabrera. Cabrera disgusted by that at bat as Cicchini throws him out.
I think Cabrera's like, why did I make this trip again?
Exactly. It's one of those where the hitter doesn't want to swing at the ball, and it runs in on the bat, and somehow it goes into play, and you're just like, what a wasted at bat.
Yeah, and Sewald throws across his body. He's to the point that I was making earlier. He's on the third base side of the rubber. He throws across his body, so to a right-hander, the ball runs in on you, and then his slider goes from the same place over the plate. And sometimes when it runs in on you like it did with Cabrera, he may be thinking it was going to be a slider, and next thing you know, you got a dribbler to second.
That's infield goes into a big shift. Victor Martinez batting.
Victor has had numerous knee operations also, so really no speed anymore.
Five-time All-Star Victor Martinez. Almost won the MVP 2014. He was second in the American League vote.
In 2014 he finished second, so that's after 2 successive years that Miguel Cabrera won it, 2012 and 2013.
That was the year that Mike Trout, after all those years waiting, finally was able to take home the hardware.
Now he just takes it home every year.
Just about. MVP in 2016. Well, he was either the MVP or the runner-up each of his first 5 years in the big leagues.
He's his generation's mantle. I mean, when you watch him play, not a switch hitter, of course, but run, 5-tool player.
He only finished 4th last year because he missed so much time.
What, he jammed his thumb, hurt his thumb?
Yep.
On sliding into second base.
But his numbers were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even in the limited time, he still had 30-plus homers, 20-plus steals. OPS well over 1,000.
What did you finish the MVP voting?
4th.
Yeah, so 4th on a bad year.
Tough year.
on 114 games. High pop-up. Reyes stands alone on the left side of the infield. Here Nimmo calling Reyes off for the out.
Well, you can never accuse Brandon Nimmo of not calling for the baseball. You could hear it from up here.
Loud and clear. That's what they tell you, right?
That's right.
Make sure they can hear you. One of the things that I love about Mike Trout is he's one of the few guys since I think maybe Griffey that looks like he's just having fun, like he's playing on a sandlot field, and just the amazing things that he does is because of his talent and his drive, but he looks like he's having fun playing the game every day.
Mikey Matuk's another one of those types of players. So he takes a strike, but guy the Rays gave up on, and he's found a new home in Detroit.
Had 6 triples last year, 33 extra base hits on his 94 hits. Perfect ballpark to hit triples in. I think Curtis Granderson hit maybe 24 or 25 one year in Detroit.
That was the year when Granderson had 20 in every category. Doubles, triples, steals, and homers.
Took me career to get 20 in a couple of those categories.
I don't remember speed being a huge part of your game.
I'll make you go to the record books. Oh,
Is that a Zeal jersey?
Yes, very nice.
I let my mom in today. No, I had a surprising 17 steal year. 1 year. Yeah, that was surprising to everybody, I think.
Salary drive?
I think the reality was I came from behind the plate where I couldn't run at all. It was my first year in the infield, and I had Dave Collins, who was a great stealer himself. He was our first base coach, and he would just tell me, going first move, whatever. I just listened to him and take off running. It took him halfway through the year before they realized, oh, that guy's actually stealing once in a while.
And then you shut it down.
And I shut it down.
Swing and a miss by Matuk. Paul Sewald has a 1-2-3 inning, and the Mets pitchers controlling the day. Tomorrow, the Yankees will make the trip from Tampa on Wednesday. Not sure if they'll bring Judge and Stanton along with them, but a look at the world champs for the game tomorrow on SNY, and then on Pix 11 Sunday with the Astros.
I think the press room will be a little fuller on Wednesday while we sit and do our work.
Upcoming schedule brought to you by WB Mason. All the Yankee scribes will come over for that, I'm sure.
That's right.
Buck Farmer, the new pitcher for the Tigers.
That's his number. 11 starts last season for Buck.
Tigers have made a bunch of changes. Victor Reyes in right field. Jim Adduci is now in left. Milwaukee pops one to the shortstop, Pete Kozma, for the first out. Ronnie Rodriguez is at third base and Edwin Espinal at first. I first saw that, I thought it was Benny Rodriguez. Isn't that the kid from Sandlot?
That's right. That's right. They got the alliterative names in there.
Benny the Jet.
That's right. Jacob Rame throwing in the Mets pen.
Been up a couple of times in this game.
Travis d'Arnaud at the plate, RBI double his first time. Farmer, at one time a prospect in the Tigers system, has lost some of that status. Top 4 prospects in the Detroit system right now are all pitchers, including Franklin Perez, who they got from the Astros for Verlander. Tigers hoping that pitching flourishes sooner than later as they face a rebuilding year in 2018. Ron Gardner, you oversaw some very good Twins teams.
Really good Twins teams that couldn't really get over the hump in the postseason, especially against the Yankees.
Darno goes down looking for a second time today. 2 up, 2 down.
You can hear some of the comments, yeah.
That's bottom, maybe. It might have dropped out of the zone a little bit. I think that set him up. His first couple of at-bats, they were pounding him hard in. I saw his front side drifting a little bit, I think anticipating that ball in. He took the slider and took the other one away. Might have been in his head a little bit.
Gardenhire's first 4 years in Minnesota, they won 90+ games, 4 of the first 5. Those teams with Torrey Hunter and
that's right.
AJ Pierzynski and
Santana,
all those guys.
Johan.
Yeah. Over 1,000 wins with the Twins. Good to see him just feeling well enough to do this. He battled prostate cancer a lot last year while he was bench coach for the Diamondbacks. Guillorme shoots for the left field corner, but Jim Adduci able to get to it. And the side retired by Buck Farmer in order. 1, 2, 3 after 6 in Port St. Lucie. Up for the Mets after being traded from the Dodgers for Curtis Granderson. His first pitch of the 7th misses to Jake Rogers. Batting for the first time today. Late on the fastball from Raym.
Well, Raym didn't have a lot of success when he came up with the Mets last year, but kind of rushed into action. They wanted to see him right away once they traded for him with the Dodgers.
Raym's got a pretty interesting background, as he came up as a collegiate pitcher. He went to the University of Oklahoma. He was a scholarship pitcher for them, then lost his scholarship after his freshman year because he gained a ton of weight. Ended up weighing around 250 pounds. Gained 60 pounds or so after high school in that freshman year. Said getting cut from Oklahoma was the best thing that ever happened to him because it forced him to drop all that extra pounds that he had.
I've heard about the freshman 10s, but I've never heard of the freshman 60s.
Jake Rogers strikes out on a breaking ball from Rain.
Good breaking ball there.
Is that a split or is it?
That's a slider.
It's a slider.
Yeah.
Good late break on it.
Ram says he got on track diet-wise playing in the Alaskan Summer League. He lived with a family that would go fishing every morning, so they'd catch salmon and then eat it for dinner.
I played up there. Didn't have quite that good experience. Not the fresh salmon every night, at least.
That's right. I played in the Cape Cod League, and the family I stayed with, I used to call them the Yardbird family, because in those days, how people dieted was to eat chicken. And every night they had some kind of chicken because the whole family was trying to lose weight, including the dog.
Swing and a miss. Rain with the high fastball, touching 98 to strike out Ronnie Rodriguez.
Up in the zone. That's what you do with 0-2, right? You go up in the zone, make him chase. Good pitcher's pitch. He's got a late torque to his fastball as well, and he's over the top, as we talked about earlier. So he's got a little extra life, especially up in the zone.
Here's Victor Reyes.
Well, if you're a young pitcher, you want to pitch yourself onto the team for two reasons. One, everyone wants to be in the major leagues, and two, you don't want to pitch in Las Vegas for a summer.
That would not be fun.
Hurt your confidence.
Last time the Mets will have to deal with that. They'll be in Syracuse starting next year at AAA.
And I was in Syracuse this winter doing something, and the people there in Syracuse are so excited for the Mets to come.
I'm sure there's a lot of Mets fans in that area.
That's right.
Get a chance to see the AAA team a lot closer to home than what the Mets have dealt with being in Las Vegas.
There were Syracuse Chiefs when I was in the International League. I think they're the same.
Still are.
Okay.
For now, I think they're changing it though. When the Mets arrive next year.
The Chiefs, is that the Toronto organization?
It was Toronto when I was playing against
there
them
as well.
Yep. Tony Fernandez, George Bell in that game in AAA.
Pretty good group.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays had turned out there. Won a couple World Series eventually with some of those guys. Still a full count on Victor Reyes. I don't remember Rain throwing this hard at the end of last season.
Well, end of a minor league season, playing an extra month as a younger player, younger pitcher. Might have lost some of that natural ability. We're seeing it here in spring.
He topped out at 95 in the big leagues last year.
I know when they traded for him, they talked about him as a guy that had 95 plus, 95 to 98. We're seeing the high side this afternoon.
Reyes continues to battle.
There's some guys that you face as a hitter that you say, okay, this guy's got smooth gas, or he's got, a lot of torque, or he's a lot of physical. This guy, he comes at you with arms and legs and really drives at you. It feels like it's probably even harder up there because he's jumping at you and he's got a lot of physicality behind it.
Reyes off his hands, pounds one into center field, a 2-out single. Just the fourth hit of the day for the Tigers. They've all been singles.
Tried to get in with him. He did a great job of keeping his hands inside. He'd seen 3 or 4 fastballs in 95, 97. Eventually, just dropped the head on it right there and kept it up the middle.
Batter now is Dawel Lugo. Tigers expect to have Dixon Machado as their second baseman this year, but Lugo's got a chance to be in there at some point this season. Remember They traded Ian Kinsler to the Angels. The Tigers got Lugo from Arizona when they moved J.D. Martinez.
Angels now will have Kinsler at second, Simmons, who had a great year at shortstop, and Cozart from the Reds came over and is going to, as a free agent, moving from shortstop to third base.
That American League West is going to be a pretty tough division. Obviously, the Astros defending their crown, they're loaded. The Angels should be okay. The Mariners figure to be a team that's in the running there. If not, Jerry DiPoto will just keep trading until he finds the right group.
He can do it, can he? It used to be Trader Jack McKeon, but it might
Trader Jerry.
There we go.
D. Gordon's been impressive in center field so far this spring for them.
He's a great athlete, but that is a tough change from second base to center field.
Making transitions as a defensive player is always a little bit tricky, but going from infield to outfield or outfield to infield is an extra element. And look, he's a great athlete, and I think he's going to do well out there, but that's not an easy transition.
Certainly no room at second base for the Mariners. Robinson Cano's got that on lockdown.
Mets in spring training, one thing, you try to see a theme of Callaway and his staff. Pitchers have been doing a lot better job of throwing over, stepping off, trying to keep the runners close, giving their catchers a little better chance.
And it's been a noticeable trend this spring for the Mets to have their pitchers throw over much more than usual.
That's often something that they do a lot of in spring training, and they just hope they don't abandon that during the season, because as a catcher, I think they are doing more to give them an opportunity.
This will get out of play.
And as a catcher, especially, there's been a lot of criticism of d'Arnaud in the last couple of years of not being able to throw out runners. And a lot of times he doesn't get the help that he could get from the mound. And you lose confidence as a young catcher when you've done everything you could do right. Good release, good throw, and then he's still safe because it still comes back on your shoulders somehow. And that's how he gets out of rhythm, I think, as he did yesterday, trying to rush, throws the ball away, and then there's an error that goes with it.
Hit hard. Flores with a nice scoop to end the inning. Wilmer Flores showing off his defensive versatility. Stretch time in Port St. Lucie. Fires a strike to Gavin Cecchini.
Split his time in 45 games in AA and AAA for the Tigers last year. Spring training, couple of innings, no runs.
Comer's a New Jersey native. First round pick too. Blue Jays drafted him 57th overall in 2011. Gavin Cecchini knows all about life as a first round pick. Comer with a quick windup. Cecchini, it's a one hopper that Dawel Lugo handles and throws him out on. Tonight at 6, get the inside scoop as the best baseball writers in New York break down all the latest Mets and Yankees spring training news, plus game recaps and live reports straight from camp on Baseball Night in New York. Presented by Tri-State Cadillac Dealers, tonight at 6, only on SNY.
I know you get to do that show, Todd. That's a fun show.
It is a fun show, and I like the way they've really kind of let it be more conversational, because a lot of good stuff comes out of the conversation. I enjoy it a lot.
You want to say anything to Doug and Andy Martino as they watch?
I'll see you boys soon. Enjoy the nor'easter while I'm down here in the sunshine, though.
There you go. Rub it in. Kevin Kazmarski takes a strike. Everybody who started for the Mets today is still in the game except for the pitchers. So we're starting to get to that point where players are going a little deeper. We saw Adrian Gonzalez play a full 9 innings yesterday. Todd, when did you like to start getting 4 at-bats and 9 innings in your spring training games?
Usually midway through the games. I think it's good as a regular to get 3 or 4 at-bats, because it's hard to get into a rhythm when you're going one and fly. But at the same time, I think the reason that you see it the way you do is because you don't also want to face a lot of guys with 60s and 70s on your back that you don't really know. It's tough to get into a rhythm as a hitter as well.
Especially if they're wild.
Yes, for sure.
You know what I always marveled at is that for the everyday players, there comes a time where you just have to go out there and stand on your feet for 2.5, 3 hours too. That's part of getting ready for a game too.
Yeah, we used to joke the best way to get ready for spring training is stand in your backyard with the sun on your neck for like 5 or 6 hours at a time.
Ball 4 to Kazmarski as he draws a walk. That's what Todd Zeile looks like if you haven't caught him on Baseball Night in New York. As the Mets and Tigers play today. Todd's first foray into the booth. You enjoying it so far?
Enjoying it so far. Good thing I got a couple of leaders leading me through this. That's what I need.
Well, you got Ron at least.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
No, it's fun. Good to be back down here at spring training. I haven't been down to St. Lucie since I played here in 2004. It's been a long time.
Does it look any different?
Not a ton different, although the surrounding area has seen a lot of growth, whether it be restaurants and shopping and those types of things. But the facility itself looks very familiar.
One of the major arteries here, US 1. I was on that the other day. That is about the same that it's always been.
I was expecting to see something different when I drove down US 1 yesterday, and I'm like, oh, I definitely have been here before.
All the scoring in this game happened in the bottom of the first. Brandon Nimmo led it off with a home run. Nimmo's had a good spring at the plate. There's some at-bats to be won between Nimmo and Lagares for sure while Michael Conforto's out. Conforto's itching to get back. We heard from him earlier. Runner goes. Kazmarski is out by a mile at second base.
That was a great pitch to throw as a catcher. Got him out in the opposite hitter's box. Easy throw there, but it almost looked like it was a missed hit and run because he was thrown out by so far.
Either that or don't run on Jake Rogers, we've learned.
So.
3-0 on Nimmo.
I think if Nimmo continues to play the way he's playing, you could see a platoon in center field. Nimmo against the right-handed pitching and Lagares against the left-handed pitching.
Nimmo's done a good job of giving himself an opportunity to play a lot of games this year, at least until Conforto comes back, by doing the things that he's doing, especially offensively. Seeing a lot of pitches, getting on base. They need him to be a setup guy for the guys in the middle of the lineup to drive in runs, and he's done a good job and is showing his patience at the plate.
The on-base percentage certainly stands out for Nimmo so far. .380 last year. And there's another opportunity to get on for Nimmo. 2-out walk here in the 7th brings up Patrick Biondi.
You and I were discussing before the game as Ron Gardenhire goes down on his bench. You used to be a guy that was not afraid to take pitches at an at-bat.
Took a lot of pitches, and there was a few years where I think I might have had the most pitches per at bat or so in the big leagues, but that became something that I think I got a little bit carried away with, honestly, later in my career.
You think you became too patient?
Well, you know what? I could barely ever swing at a first pitch. It became something in my head. I didn't want to get myself out without having a quality at bat. So there was a lot of times where I'd get the first pitch fastball down the middle. My fans, my dad, and everybody else on the team would be yelling at me to swing. They knew it was coming. And it just became a part of my nature to take that first pitch fastball. As I got in certain RBI situations, big innings later in the game, I'd take a crack at that first pitch when I really felt I had it figured out.
Biondi chops one against the shift into left field. Not sure why there was such an aggressive shift anyway on Biondi, but he slaps one the other way and singles to keep the inning going. Reyes will have a chance with 2 on.
No big league at bats for Biondi, but still a shift.
He looked like he was intentionally doing that. That was a bat that he looked like he steered the ball through that hole. I think he was well aware of it. He's got good bat control, got a ball out over the plate that he could do it, and bounced it right through the hole. I wonder why more guys don't do that against the shift. It's something that still amazes me every time I watch big league games.
It's possible, you know, things have changed so much, but as a right-handed batter that you would have seen 3 infielders or so on the left side, or at least shading up the middle. Would you have had the wherewithal to swing one the other way?
That would have been doing me a huge favor, because I did use, you know, as much of the field as I could, and I was able to hit the ball through that right side quite often in hit and run situations, that kind of thing. So I would have taken advantage of that as much as I could.
Reyes hits one deep in the air. That's Victor Reyes going back. He can't reach it. Extra bases for Jose Reyes and a couple of runs for the Mets. Nimmo and Biondi score. Jose Reyes with a 2-run double.
Jose's had a few really good at-bats today. That ball short and quick, kept his hands inside, good fastball. Even the balls that he's popped up today, he's had good swings at, and then he hit a line out as well. So he won it. He was thinking about 3. He thought about it.
And about right around 10 feet from second base, he said, "This is spring training game, right?
Yeah.
Shut it down."
Wilmer Flores takes a strike. David Thompson pinch running for Reyes. He'll stay in to play third base. Flores swings through the curve from Comer.
It's nice to see Reyes swinging the bat well, running well, looking like he's having fun.
Chopper for Pete Kozma as he retires Flores. The inning over, but Jose Reyes connects on a 2-run double. The Mets extend their lead. All smiles today in Port St. Lucie. And Jose Reyes is standing by with Eamon McEnany, brought to you by Citi.
All right, Wayne, thanks. And Jose, not a bad way to end the day. A 2-run double. What was your approach at that last at bat?
Try to get a good pitch and try to put a good swing on the ball, and he leaving a little bit up, and I was able to put a very good swing. So that's a very nice day for me.
What's the key to still having the enthusiasm and still having fun at spring training after you've been through so many?
Come early in the morning with the same attitude. I come here with happy attitude every single day because this is what I love to do. I love to play baseball. I have to come the same way every day.
In the regular season, you going for third on that?
Probably yes. For this has been training. I had to slow down a little bit. I take the 12 yard with a double.
All right. Speaking of going for third, I promise you the third base ump can't hear us. Were you safe in the first inning when you tried to steal third?
I don't know. What's bang? I think it was out. To be honest with you. So I got a little bad jump there. Stuff happens. Sometimes they're gonna throw you out, and sometimes you're gonna steal.
All right. Finally, I don't know if you heard the news, but it looks like Ichiro's coming back to the major leagues, signing with the Mariners. So your race is back on 512 and 509 in stolen bases.
I don't worry about that. So I just try to get on base and try to get in score position. So I don't worry about how many some other guy have.
Lastly, how important was it for you to come back with the Mets and you have one more run here with the team that you started with?
This is home for me. This is where I feel comfortable playing baseball, and I'm very happy that they wanted to take a chance on me one more time to come here, and we got a very good team. I'm excited to this season, and whatever they ask me to do, I'm gonna be open to do it.
All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate the time.
Thank you,
Wayne.
Amen. Thank you very much. Jose Reyes brings certain boyishness to the team, even though he's one of the older guys.
It's like, I don't know, it's interesting, right? It's like the anatomy of a career. Came up with so much aplomb, and rightfully so. So infectious, his style of play with stealing and the great arm and base hits and all of that. And now it's come full circle where he's going to be a utility player, although last year he became an everyday player because of the injuries.
I still think that he sees the fact that there's an opportunity here because, as baseball will tell you, not everybody stays healthy, and there's something to be said for a guy that can go out there and do a number of different things like Jose Reyes can. And I love the fact that he said, yeah, I would have gone for that at third base if it wasn't spring training. He used to go for those in spring training, but he'd end up hurting himself on occasion because he was always just so on fire.
Yeah.
Now he's looked like he's matured a little bit.
Todd, you were at the end of your career when Reyes and David Wright were just at the beginning into spring training as young guys. Did they stand out? Did you notice those guys early on?
Absolutely. We had already heard about him, and Reyes had so much talked about his athletic ability, his arm strength, that I can remember playing first base and him just taking ground balls, and I was just amazed at his arm. And he had probably some adrenaline going early in big league camp as well.
Strike 3 called to Cosma. Punch out for Drew Smith.
Fastball darted away, and home plate umpire May has had a pretty big strike zone after about the second or third inning, much to the dismay of some of the hitters.
Edwin Espinal is the batter now. Jose Lobaton is catching for the Mets, who have made nearly wholesale changes. Only Guillorme remains of the starters today. Left fielder is now Borenstein, Matt Dendecker in right. Thompson stayed in to play third, replacing Reyes. Ty Kelly at second base. Peter Alonso at first.
You know what's interesting about Lobaton behind the plate? Usually in a traditional kind of roster, you have a #1 catcher, and then you have a guy like Lobaton who backs him up, who's only going to play maybe once a week. But what's interesting about the Mets is that it looks like it's going to be d'Arnaud and Plawecki, both guys who want to play every day but are not going to play every day. Well, one of them is going to be a #1.
Seems like the Mets are stuck with, not stuck, but at least leaning toward that they're going to try to split these guys in their playing time. Lobaton will be a serviceable backup if they need one, and I'm sure they will, according to how things have gone over the course of the season. Doubt they'll get by with just 2 catchers all year.
I think it's interesting because d'Arnaud has essentially been handed the job the last couple previous years and underperformed, I think, from what their expectations were from him as an offensive catcher, and he's improved some defensively but was still not as good as they thought he could have been. Then Plawecki come in at the end of the year and they both got better. So I think maybe they see that competition in them as both being guys that could get some playing time back there, making them both better by competing a little bit.
The Braves last year had Tyler Flowers and Kurt Suzuki basically split the catching duties. If you look at the offensive numbers, the Braves were near the top of the league in every category from their catchers. Espinal drives that one right to the center fielder Biondi. 2 down.
The only difference is Flowers and Suzuki, both veteran players that probably easier for them to deal with, the occasional sitting on the bench. I don't know if when you have, I still consider d'Arnaud and Plawecki younger players, and it's hard not to be the #1 guy or to stay sharp if you're on the bench for 3 or 4 straight days.
It is indeed. And I liked Plawecki in one of the Baseball Night in New York that we did. We were talking about the fact that maybe there was an off-season signing available as a catcher, and I like Plawecki's response to that kind of thought process is, hey, we're going to get the job done. Look at what we did at the end of last year. And he was using it as a we, myself and d'Arnaud, is what he was saying. We were as good as anybody if you combine the two of us, and we're going to get the job done, so don't keep looking elsewhere.
Does it matter as a player too? We saw the free agent list earlier. Jonathan Lucroy is still out there. Does that stick in the back of a player's mind at all?
Well, that's who the conversation was about on BNNY. Actually, was Lucroy. Lucroy coming off a really down year, but has the veteran presence that we're talking about. He's a solid defensive catcher with some offensive upside, and so there was some speculation. Hey, is this the guy that we should go get? And I think Sandy made it pretty clear. Look, that's not on the top of our list right now. We were at that point they're looking to solidify the spot at third base. So Todd Frazier was on their mind, and Lucroy was not a guy that they were going to consider because he thinks that between those two guys, when we're talking about Plawecki and d'Arnaud, they can get the job done.
Guillorme can't get that with a dive. Borenstein cuts it off, digging for second base. And making it with a double is Chad Huffman.
That hurt your feelings as a pitcher. That was a laser beam.
It was.
Now 2 in scoring position for Jim Adduci. See his numbers at AAA. Guy's been around the minor league circuit for quite a while. Drew Smith, who was traded from the Tigers just last year, he was actually the guy in the Matuk deal. Then dealt from Tampa to the Mets for Lucas Duda.
Lucas got a job, right? Kansas City Royals.
Yes, sir.
Ironically.
Replaces Eric Hosmer. Those two linked a few years ago.
Forever.
Bouncing ball should get Smith out of the inning. Ty Kelly throws out Adduci, and the inning is over. Mets team shutout continues through 7.5. New York Mets to help local baseball and softball leagues with grants, clinics, and Mets game experiences. Right now, we're accepting applications for local youth baseball and softball leagues to nominate a league in need. Apply today at sny.tv/playball. Jose Lobaton bats for the first time against Daniel Norris. Lobaton bounces one foul. If the Tigers are going to get any better from a pitching standpoint, they need Norris to take that step forward.
They're two lefties, Matt Boyd and Daniel Norris, who really towards the end of the 16 season really looked good, and they kind of took a step back last year.
Yeah, there was a big battle in camp last year for that number 5 starter job between those two, and then neither one really won it.
Right.
Tim Tebow on deck. He'll bat in Travis d'Arnaud's place. Jose Lobaton, a former Tampa Bay Ray and a Washington National. He was Wilson Ramos's backup for a few years with the Nats.
He didn't have a lot of hits, but the hits he got usually came against the Mets. Maybe that's why they signed him.
Tries to dunk this ball into the outfield, but Dawel Lugo makes the catch. A nice treat at the end of the afternoon for a big crowd at First Data Field today.
Well, he's just beloved by these fans in Florida. And Mets fans too, I believe.
If he does make it to the big leagues, he'd have to be the first person to ever play for both the Jets and the Mets.
That's right.
Late on that fastball from Norris. Goes the other way. Might have broken his back.
Well, you mentioned it yesterday about the Heisman Trophy winners that have played in the big leagues. Bo Jackson being the best. Played many years against Bo, and he was just until he hurt his hip, he was the finest athlete I've ever seen on a field, and he was almost menacing when you looked at him. He was just so big and so fast. He used to make so much noise down the first base line.
Deion Sanders sticks out as a two-sport star. Right. Brian Jordan,
a former teammate of mine. Bo Jackson, as you said, there was a spring training game when I was with the Cardinals where he hit a chopper to Ozzie at shortstop and beat it out, and then hit a ball over the scoreboard against Todd Worrell his next at bat. I'm like, okay, this guy is everything he's supposed to be.
That's right.
Yeah, it really is too bad that he got injured in the manner he did.
This is not exactly an enviable task for Tebow to come up. One thing I do remember about this stadium is the shadows coming in at the end of the day like this. So for him to come up here, face a left-hander, not an easy task.
And it didn't work out for Tebow. He strikes out against Daniel Norris.
Fastball up in the zone.
Oh. That kid can't bear to watch, even though it was one of his pitchers. Luis Guillorme looks at a strike from Norris.
Well, one thing I've noticed about Norris from last year, he's working awfully quick. I think that's a good thing.
Maybe tomorrow will be the day for Tim Tebow, but the world champion Astros will be here at 1 o'clock tomorrow on SNY.
They've got so much young talent. You're hoping that they bring some of them.
Astros named Justin Verlander their opening day starter today. As Guillorme shoots one over third, that's a base hit. Mets will have Jason Vargas start tomorrow, followed by Seth Lugo, and former Met Colin McHugh will pitch for Houston.
Something you don't see as much anymore. He really stayed back on that ball. Almost a two-part swing because he saw the breaking ball, recognized it, and just shot it to left field. It's a really good piece of hitting right there.
Ty Kelly bats. Pinch runner at first base for the Mets. I believe that's Andre Jimenez that is out there. He's the Mets' top prospect, if that is indeed him. Ty Kelly hits one hard on the ground, but the shortstop Cosma gets to it. And the inning is over. That is Andres Jimenez, who was forced out at second. We go to the ninth in Port St. Lucie. Mets will try to finish up with a 4-0 lead entering the 9th inning. Drew Smith in his 2nd inning of work. Harvey, Familia, Ramos, Sewald, Rame, and Smith have combined on a 5-hit shutout. Jake Rogers leading off the 9th. Sends one to Andres Jimenez, the #1 prospect in the Mets farm system. 19 years old. Unable to make that play. Rogers given a base hit to start the 9th inning.
Ball's going to find you. Always does.
As they say, the baseball gods know where you are when you first go out there. Yeah. That ball's a laser, and there's nothing he could do to except try to just scoop that. But I'm sure he wished he would have had a nice, easy routine ground ball for his first chance.
Born in September of 1998.
What?
Andres Jimenez. So this is his age 19 season. He won't turn 20 until the minor league season's about over.
During the break, you were saying your first appearance in a big league camp was one of the more nerve-wracking of your career, and I can identify with that as well. So
I can remember where it was. It was for the Texas Rangers against the Yankees in Fort Lauderdale, and I couldn't swallow. I got out in the mouth. I was like, well, what just happened here?
You guys both went to college. This guy's
I know.
a freshman in college. His batting stance on Ronnie Rodriguez. Couldn't catch the high fastball. Watch SNY Mets games on the go on any device with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. There's Victor Reyes. That one kicks away from Lobaton. A wild pitch advances Rogers to second.
Reyes had a good at bat in his last at bat. Remember, he took it to 3-2, saw about 7 or 8 pitches, and then inside out at a single.
Outfield is shaded. Reyes to left. Smith in the sunshine. Reyes in the shadows takes ball 2. So you can't even see the left fielder. Bornstein is over toward the line.
yeah, those shadows are tough. I hated those shadows. Those, especially the twilight kind of starts, Dodger Stadium or places like that. Just you just try to get through the first few innings until the shadows got behind the pitcher, and then at least you're in the same perspective, but it was no fun.
You know, it's pretty funny. I remember when we have those games and those starts, I was the guy that usually pitched down in the strike zone, but I would pitch up in the strike zone when you had those shadows, because it was much more difficult for the hitters to see that pitch.
And what the fans may not realize is you think, oh, well, he's still in the sunshine, but when it goes from sun to shade and your eyes don't quite adjust, so you lose seeing rotation on the ball. So it's a lot more difficult to tell whether it's a fastball or an off-speed pitch, which comes in a blink of an eye anyway. But if you lose that little bit of perspective, it makes a big difference in your approach at the plate.
Drew Smith up to 30 pitches after this delivery. It stays 3-2 on Victor Reyes. With that in mind, the Mets have some activity in their bullpen.
Oh, I like this young player, Victor Reyes. He's got a nice idea and a short stroke.
Drew Gagno loosening up in the Mets pen. Off the glove of Thompson into left field. Reyes digs for second. Throw by Jimenez. Not in time. Safe at second base is Reyes.
You know, that's a case where the shadow might have affected the fielder, not seeing the ball off the bat.
For sure that ball should have been caught as we're looking at it here, but as you're saying, it comes from the shadow into the sun, and it might have taken. That's a great approach by Reyes at the plate. We talked about it last time he hit, and we talked about it earlier here. He saw a lot of pitches. He sees the fastball. His timing gets good. He's not trying to do too much with it, and he drives it again to the opposite field. It just makes it a difficult play.
Gave Andres Jimenez a chance to show off his arm at least. Threw a P to second base, but too late. Looks like they're giving Reyes a double. No error put on the board, so Tigers threatening to score here in the 9th inning.
It's an interesting call with the sun ball earlier that didn't get touched for an error, and that one that did not going as an error.
Do you think there's some graft in play, or?
Not quite sure. Can't speculate. You think, hey, this is the home field. There should have been a hit for Reyes.
That's right.
And an error, so you protect your pitcher here.
Well, the Tigers got a scorer on the bus from Lakeland. Who knows?
Come on, baby. At least no.
Smith ran into some base runners in the 8th inning. Runners on second and third with 2 outs, but Jim Adduci grounded out. Second and third, 1 out here in the 9th. Base hit the other way for Dawel Lugo. That scores Rogers. Reyes will hold at third. The Tigers are on the board.
You see right here, as we talked about earlier, I don't think he was literally trying to push it through that hole, but he didn't try to do too much with that pitch. The ball was out over the plate. As we've been talking about with the shadows, he's probably not seeing it as well as he normally would have anyway, so maybe he just cut down on the swing a little bit, but it was just a nice quick stroke, base hit to right field.
So Drew Gagno will try to get the final 2 outs as the Mets hang on to a 3-run lead. Gagno was in AAA last year as a member of the Angels organization. ERA climbed above 6 in the PCL. Had a couple of good years early in his career when he was with the Brewers as a starter, but once he reached the high minors, that ERA started to go skyward.
Well, that PCL is no favor for pitchers either.
We were talking about ERA earlier, and noticed that 2 of the worst 3 in the leagues, in the major leagues last year, were National League teams. Do you think there's still a difference between American League and National League when it comes to pitching and ERA?
Yeah, no, I don't think so, because I think that what is it should because of the DH, of course, right?
Gerber goes after the first pitch. Borenstein runs out of room.
But I think the game, even despite the pitcher hitting in the National League, has become the same all around baseball, and that is people are just trying to leave the ballpark. You know, so many home runs hit throughout baseball that the game has changed a little bit. But you're right. It used to be.
There used to be a considerable distinction between the two leagues.
When I got traded to the American League and my strikeouts went from 180 to 150, I was like, how did that? Oh, that's right. I'm not facing the pitcher a couple times.
Check swing. Gerber didn't go around. What I want to know is how Gagno got his hat so messy. It's March 5th.
Well, some guys just they gotta mess it up. That's how they feel comfortable. Just like some guys with helmets. Look at the grip he has on that changeup. It's like it's the Vulcan changeup.
That's white knuckling right there.
That's right.
The messy hat, the crazy grip.
I used to play with a left-hander in the minor leagues who had a grip like that. He used to call it his piranha ball because it just ate up hitters. That's
That's a disaster.
Yeah, he's got a whole routine.
Got a quirky guy on our hands. 2-2 on Gerber. Drew
He's
Gagno.
been sweating it up with that hat on. He's got those salt stains to prove it.
That's what he wants you to think. Maybe he just rubbing it in salt all day. That could be intentional.
I would try to spend as much time in spring training without the lid on, to tell you the truth. Try to get some sun.
As did I.
Well, he went to Long Beach State. Do you think that's got something to do with it? He's a dirtbag at heart.
You got to let our fans know, or they're going to.
Yeah, that they call themselves that. That's the name of the team.
We know that.
Yeah.
They might not know. I mean, boy, Wayne's getting kind of personal there.
Heard some oohs from the crowd on that one.
Runner goes on 3-2, and the bases are loaded for the Tigers. Mets having a hard time putting this one away as Pete Kozma bats with the bases loaded. This is Tim Peterson throwing in the Mets bullpen.
This is where you really get to see, you know, we talk about some people saying, you know, getting the last 3 outs in a game, it's not that big of a deal. Well, you can see it when you see it in these spring training games for some pitchers who haven't been in that role in their career. Get a little nervous.
It is. It is tough. It is tough. It's a mental challenge sometimes. Some of these guys pitch completely differently when it's the last 3 outs as they would if it was the 6th or 7th inning, and there's no real reason for it.
You know, every good closer I've been around some great ones. The best, probably Dennis Eckersley, are almost adrenaline junkies at heart. You know, they just love being out there when it's on the line.
The crowd trying to encourage Drew Gagno to get through it. He falls behind Kozma.
There's a difference with guys like that when you're a hitter watching them too, because there's guys that you feel like at some point the momentum has shifted and you as a hitter have the advantage. Okay, I've got it on him now. He's the one that's got to perform. With the closers, the really good ones, Mariano, Eck, guys like that, Lee Smith, when I used to catch him, they never felt like the hitter had an advantage. They always felt like they were in control, and that's something that I think translates to a hitter as well. You always feel like you're the one trying to do something against this guy. He's not the one trying to get you out.
John Franco is pretty good at that.
It's all about who's dictating the at-bat, the pitcher or the hitter.
100%. Johnny used to talk about the fact that he was the little guy that nobody thought could do it, and that confidence and bulldog mentality he took with him out on that mound.
I think the sabermetric mind believes that 3 outs in the second inning, 3 outs in the ninth inning, all the same.
I think they've changed in that because I've seen how they've talked about that earlier. But you see teams that are analytically inclined, like the Houston Astros. It didn't matter if they needed a closer. Then they went out and got Ken Giles. You know, so your act doesn't always represent what the numbers say.
Of course, by the World Series, they were just begging for anybody to get an out in the ninth inning.
They said Brad Peacock, Charlie Morton, McCullers, whoever had to go out there. Best thing for Gagnon to do right here is throw a little ground ball to the 19-year-old and let him start a double play.
That sounds good in theory. Let's see if Gagnon can deliver one right there to young Andres Gimenez. Kozma drills one. Borenstein over to get it, makes the catch. 2 outs, a run will score. Victor Reyes home on the sac fly. That's a 4-2 ball game, but Tigers down to their final out.
Well, right now he'll take that as an out. The problem there, as we've talked about before, is getting yourself in a situation where you've got to throw a 3-2 fastball and you got to throw it in the zone. And that was trying to be a little bit too cute or a little too tricky, or the mentality that we're talking about leading up to that 3-2 pitch, because he's trying to bury him instead of throw a nice little ground ball and get the game over.
Edwin Espinal, big 250-pound first baseman, has a lot of power. 15 homers last year in the Pirates system. High cheese from Gagnon. There's the strike. Espinal, a minor league free agent. Likely find himself wearing a Mud Hens uniform this year. Toledo, AAA for the Tigers.
I know they have a beautiful new stadium there, but when I played there in AAA, they did not. And you would walk off the field, you'd have to walk underneath the stands where the fans were. And if you won the game against the Mud Hens, the fans would just douse you with their beer, popcorn, whatever they had.
It's funny, I started laughing when you said that, because I also played at the old ballpark in Toledo. And that's one thing I remember about there is I could not see the baseball. It was really difficult. They had no batter's eye, and it was really difficult to see the baseball there.
Players used to always say, when they're going to turn the candles on, and the lights there.
They've still got the same broadcaster since you guys were playing there. Jim Weber since 1975.
Really?
Amazing.
The runner on second base might have the biggest lead I've ever seen taken in a game.
That's Sergio Alcantara, pinch running for Dawel Lugo at second base. Wow. Sneaking behind him in this game.
As a pitcher, you'd have probably, in the old days, been taught to get off the mound and run at him.
Yeah.
He's not even looking at him. Ground ball. Ty Kelly, a sliding stop, throw to first, game over. Drew Gagnon gets out of it with a little help from Ty Kelly. A nice sliding play to his left. And the Mets get their first win since Wednesday. They beat the Tigers 4-2.
Well, I think the game today really was centered around Matt Harvey. Pitching 3 scoreless innings, I think, was just a great confidence booster for Matt, and offensively for the Mets, a couple of innings with a couple of runs.
Yeah, I agree. It was all about Matt Harvey, but I love to see the Nimmo home run. I love to see Reyes' energy and the fact that he, I think, brought a little enthusiasm into this Mets lineup. Look, they did it 4-2. It wasn't dominant, but it's a W.
Jose Reyes ended up with the difference maker in this game, cracking a 2-run double late. And the Mets do hang on to get the 4-2 win against the Tigers. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by WB Mason, the official office products company of the New York Mets. Who but WB Mason? By the Chrysler Pacifica. By Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. And by Ram Trucks. From towing to hauling, work or play, Ram Trucks will power you through. Mets hold off the Tigers. A 4-2 victory for the Mets here today in Port St. Lucie. Right back here tomorrow afternoon at First Data Field against the defending World Series champion Houston Astros. A 1 o'clock start on SNY. We say goodnight from Port St. Lucie. For Todd Zeal and Ron Darling, I'm Wayne Randazzo. In for Gary Cohen as the Mets beat the Tigers 4-2.